Hello, investors and traders. Before we get started, 3 days ago, over the weekend into Friday, we had a video about GameStop, and we can say we are very happy what happened this week for our recommendation 3 days ago and over the last 2 weeks of GameStop. Now, we don't get very emotional off any stock, and we don't get hung up on any stock, but to say in the last 2 weeks we have not been very profitable is an understatement. Our videos for the last 2 years, and especially the last week, have aged very well. On a side note, we have taken some profits off the table off GME. And just to prove we are not a one-hit wonder off GME, remember, we have been telling you to buy the Magnificent Seven for a year and a half now. And we specifically every month been telling you to buy NVIDIA on the pullbacks for over a year and 7 months. Make no error, we will do a mistake. Sooner or later, one of the recommendations we give out will not do well. But thus saying that, we're using a probability of succeeding. And when you put the probabilities in your favor and we have a consistent approach, I feel our recommendations will still be doing very well. We use historical, technical, analytical, and momentum to give us a weight of evidence. We are still believing that this is a bull market, but this bull market will come to the end in the intermediate term. Thus saying that, we've seen many problems in the stock market, but the QQQ, the S&P 500, is being held by the 6 largest tech companies, more specifically, the Magnificent Seven. So if you are not in those 6 Magnificent Seven companies, you are not faring that good. But all this we have talked about in the last 1 year and a half. So without further ado, our next stock recommendation, it is not a stock, it's a commodity. We believe wheat will be higher from today going forward. We believe history will repeat itself. In 2021 and 2022, I started building positions in wheat and a lot of commodities. Thus saying that, it's a little early still for all the commodities, but wheat seems to have been broken out. If I compare GameStop, the way that the chart looked at GameStop, and put it next to the chart of wheat, it looks the same. So the same reasons I got into GameStop, it's looking like wheat is the next explosion. Now, 2 years ago, when I was telling people to get into wheat and get into commodities, they looked at me like crazy. 3 weeks ago, when I was telling you to buy GameStop, people looked at me like crazy. A year and a half ago, and every single month since then, I've been telling people to buy NVIDIA. They look like crazy. And again, the same reaction I will get with wheat. Now, I was very lucky, or maybe probabilities were on my side and news makes its stories. Russia invaded Ukraine, which spiked wheat prices higher. Before we get into wheat itself, I want to go over stock cycles and how stock cycles work. What is a commodities or stock cycle? A stock cycle is typically evolution of a stock price from an early uptrend to a price high through a downtrend and a price low. There are 4 phases of the stock cycle: accumulation, markup, distribution, and markdown. How cycles work. Prices may appear random, but they are repeating price cycles that are predominantly driven by participation of large financial institutions. As a result, following cash flows, reason to originate from these large places can be identified as an occurring in a cyclical manner. The stock cycle has an expression and contraction periods, much like the economic cycle. It can be used for portfolio management allocation along with increased investments during the accumulation and markup phases and profit taking during distribution and markdown phases. Investors measure a stock cycle by comparing the distance between the lows to help determine where prices are in the current cycle. Now understand this. Let's look at the stock market first in the cycle. In 2022, we had a bad year. In 2023, we had a good year. In 2024, we believe we will still have a good year. But in 2025, the money will be reversing into the new cycle, commodities. Commodities in 2021 and 2022 were good. In 2023 and 2024, commodities were bad. You understand how I'm piecing these cycles together. And then when I show you the picture of wheat, you'll understand I might be a little early on wheat, but this definitely looks like a breakout. Understanding cycle phases, accumulation. An uptrend starts with accumulation phase. This is where institutional investors slowly begin acquiring large positions in stock. Investors use support and resistance levels to find suitable entry points at this stage of the stock cycle. For instance, investors may start accumulating a security when it nears the lower end of a well-established trading range. Markup, a breakout of the accumulation period starts the markup cycle. Trend and momentum investors make the bulk of the gains during the phase as a stock price continues higher. In this part of the stock cycle, traders use indicators such as moving average and trend lines to help make investment decisions. Distribution. Institutional investors start unwinding their positions at this stage of the stock cycle. Price action begins to move sideways as the bulls and bears fight for control. A bearish technical divergence between a stock price and a technical indicator often starts to appear in the distribution phase. And finally, markdown. Volatility often increases during this phase as investors rush to liquidate their positions. Investors use temporary retracements to the upside as an opportunity to sell their shares, while traders look to open short positions to take advantage of falling prices. Typically, margin calls increase near the conclusion of a markdown cycle as stock prices near the lows, which may help explain the climactic volume often associated with this part of the stock cycle. I call this video Wheat Back in Play after 2 years. 3 years ago, I loved playing the commodities market. It was easy, especially now after the fact that 2 years wheat has done nothing and recently just looked to break out. Before we get started, disclaimer, the information provided on our channel is for educational information purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional financial advice. You need to build your own system. You need to have your own rules. You need to take responsibility for your own investments. Even though we've been dead on right, we will be wrong one day. So to start off right from the beginning, as we talked about, where is wheat on the cycle and where is the QQQs on the cycle? Where is the commodities market on the cycle? If you look at this picture over here, you can see wheat went straight down. This was the declining phase. And then we went into a basing phase. Now we believe this is the first start of the advancing phase, and we're a little bit early on wheat. So if we go over here, we have seen the topping of the wheat in the agriculture market about 2 years ago when the market started going up, and we went through a declining phase on wheat and most commodities. Now we hit an accumulation phase, and we believe we're starting in a growth phase. This could be a little bit early, but still, this chart we will explain you meets all our rules. If we look at the commodity industry in general, we are barely in a growth phase. If we look at agriculture, we are also in a bullish run. And clearly, if you look at wheat itself, you can say for the last 3 weeks, this has not done very well. Now, if you compare it to our recommendation of GameStop side by side, other than the huge spike up over here, it looks good. We are consistent in our approach. GameStop, wheat, NVIDIA, for me, it's all the same. Man, to say that you don't love Roaring Kitty, I love the story. But still, I must keep to my rules of buying. What is my rules in buying? Are we in a bull market? We are starting to be in a bull market on commodities. Are we oversold? I will show you that we are oversold in a minute off wheat. Is it a cheap trick? Well, actually, it's a cheap trick. It's just not the lowest cheap trick out there. We're not bottom fishing and saying because it's at $5 we're buying in. We're buying in because it had a nice upswing. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to start by buying pullbacks from 5 to 5.75, trading above the moving averages from here. Now, if it can break out of the left side, which has not broken out before, this is a very positive sign, and this could run very fast upwards. Are we prioritizing uptrend? Absolutely. Do we have an investing stop? Absolutely. Are we maintaining consistency? For sure, because I have not touched wheat in 2 years, and I've been playing with GameStop, NVIDIA, SMHs. You can also look at the sector. It has recently just jumped above its moving averages. We are looking to do a continuation buying on this. As close as it pulls back, we're buying into it. This number is even lower right now because wheat fell yesterday also, but still trading above its moving averages. Now we go to the overbought, oversold indicator. This is at 0. We feel we're going to get a pop day or tomorrow. But we're looking at this for a swing trade and intermediate term trade and trying to build a position for 6 months to 1 year on wheat to see if we're proven right if price goes higher. Now, if you look over here on the longer term, stochastic RSI, we are at 0 levels. And of course, short term, we are also at 0 levels. And we believe we will turn up for the medium term. Our CCI indicator, it's a very strong signal if we can bounce off this 0 level here and go up to 200. I do not think we will see the minus 200 level in this next recent run. So what is our recommendation? Our recommendation is we are short term intermediate term, and long-term bullish on wheat. We will be starting to build a position and slowly to see if we are right. And this will be a position in commodities that could last for a year and a half. But we are very cautious because we believe we're a little early on the commodities, and we still feel we have a lot more room to run on AI companies, companies like GameStop, and momentum-driven companies. But this wheat position, it's a start. We believe commodities will be our next NVIDIA. This is a bold statement, but remember, we've made many other bold statements before. In 2022, we had the same statement about commodities. And we also said the market was going lower, including cryptocurrency. In 2023, we went fully bullish. And in 2024, we're staying bullish, but we know the end is coming soon. You know the catchphrase: study it, analyze it, adapt it. Peace.